Marvel Avengers has officially released, and I figured this would be a good time to share a lot that I learned from beta and early access. So, getting into this game, it's much deeper than it was in beta, and looking back, I mean, beta barely scratched what we have so far, and I do plan on having a review once the full Endgame is released, rather than reviewing half the game. Because right now, you can get story, some of the Endgame type of stuff, but we're missing the big things, the raid-like activities called Hives. So to get us kicked off, at the title screen, you're going to have two choices, Campaign and Avengers Initiative. The Initiative is basically your endgame mode once you've completed the story, and it might seem like a good idea to jump straight into running these missions. However, I 100% recommend doing the story first. First of all, it's a great story. But secondly, you're going to end up with a nice base set of gear for each hero. You're going to learn their moves, their skill sets, their strengths, their weaknesses, and you're going to unlock a decent chunk of their skill tree. And all of this stuff is going to make those endgame missions easier since you'll have a build going at that point. You'll have a lot of synergy and you'll be able to just kind of roll through things. Rather than just starting with like the common basic set of gear, not a lot of skill points, this is the better way to go in my opinion. So speaking of gear, I want to touch on that next because this has been a big topic for Avengers. And items in this game come in your typical loot rarities: common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and exotic. And starting at uncommon, your gear will start to have perks that you can piece together to create some nice synergy with your attacks. And at legendary, your gear can have up to 3 perks, and that is when the game really opens up to build possibilities. Exotics are a completely different type of animal though. I mean, from the 2 that I have, they have new perks that you can activate manually. So I play with controller, so you can click down both thumbsticks and it'll give you like a damage buff. The other one creates explosions that deal more damage for each status effect on enemies and make it so enemies take more damage from their status effects. So there's some pretty cool stuff you can build around, and right now the ones I have are restricted to the major artifact slot, but I really hope we'll see them in actual gear slots soon, because I think this would be a really cool thing to have for each hero. Something specific to them that makes them way more effective. And each piece of gear that is uncommon or above can be boosted, and this will increase the power level of that item by 1 point. And when you're boosting epics, legendaries, or exotics, it will unlock additional perks, so they'll be locked until you actually put the resources and the time in to get those. And each rarity can only be boosted a certain number of times. So green can only be boosted 3 times. So if you have something that's green level 20, it can go up to a green 23. Blues are 5, epics and up are 10. So if you have an epic that's level 40 and you boost it 10 times, that'll put you at 50, so that's the cap. Now boosting itself, that takes resources, and you can find these resources out in the world. They can be in chests, they can drop from enemies, they're in gray containers that have like a color hue to them, so make sure you smash literally everything and build up your stock. When you're first starting out, I recommend don't boost anything. Do not boost a thing. Save those materials until you start getting epics and up, because 1, you want to unlock those extra perks, but 2, you're going to be getting gear at such a fast pace that you're just going to end up wasting materials that you could have used down the road. Also, make sure to break down any unwanted gear into materials so you can keep building up that stock. Next, I want to talk about skills. Now, skills were easily the largest change from beta that I can think of. We went from having 1 page of skill trees to having 3. So looking at Captain America, we have 12 skill trees to invest into. Are they massive trees? No. But they do get increasingly more impactful as you unlock nodes in the specialty and mastery trees. And each hero has something they excel at. So for Captain America, he does well with support and tanking, and he uses his abilities that either taunt or grant damage buffs to other heroes. And a lot of his potency comes from his intrinsic ability, and each hero has an intrinsic ability. So for Hulk, it's going into rage mode, which rebuilds your health and increases your damage. For Captain, it's using his shield to either block attacks, reflect projectiles, or riposte into a combo chain. So mastering and improving each hero's intrinsic is a great way to make them more effective when you play them and when you use them as AI companions, because that's part 2 of this. If you're playing solo, you want to make sure your AI companions have as much at their disposal as they possibly can. Now, outside of your intrinsic, Find a playstyle that you enjoy with each hero, or a skill that you really like to use and invest in that thing heavily. If you try to spend your points on too much, you're going to be less effective overall. Now that we've talked about gear and skills, let's talk about assembling a team. In Avengers, you won't get to have all of the heroes in your party at once. You get 4, including yourself. And if you're playing online with matchmaking, this section doesn't really matter because it focuses on playing solo. So when looking at team composition, I recommend a few things. 1, make sure to bring heroes that fill each role: tanking, healing, support, or damage. This makes life incredibly smoother. It makes endgame and story mode much smoother. Everything goes better if you don't have a ton of glass cannons or a ton of tanks or a ton of support people. You want to have a nice balanced comp. And a great starting lineup, once you unlock all of them, is Hulk, Kamala, Thor, and Captain America. Hulk gives you some great taunts, but also puts out some strong damage. Kamala is incredibly versatile. She's also the only hero that has a heal she can cast whenever she wants. Thor is all about murdering everything. This guy puts out incredible damage and makes your entire party deal additional damage. So having him around is just a no-brainer. And then lastly, we have Captain America, who excels at tanking, taunt, and inflicting enemies with vulnerability so they take even more damage. So right now we're fairly balanced. We have a healer, we have an off-tank, a main tank, and an absolute just master of destruction, Thor. So having this comp is really strong. Now going through the story mode, you're going to be restricted to what you have originally. So I wouldn't worry too much about comp there until you unlock everyone. And then at that point, you can start tinkering around with who you really want to bring to the table. Moving on to number 2, play all of the heroes in your core squad to increase their power level. Because here's the problem. If you're sitting at power level 50, but the rest of your party is at power level 15, they're going to spend most of the mission dead or near dead. So it's important that you keep everyone within about 10 power or so, and you can easily increase their power, go purchase items from vendors for a quick boost, go do some missions, complete some mission chains. It's not a difficult thing to keep people around each other, but this is absolutely key because, like I said, it's going to make your life much more difficult if your party is consistently dead. So overall, I've had some really great success following this model, and I've been able to get through most things smoothly, but this game can also get very tough for no reason in some encounters. It's like they crank the difficulty up to 11 in some situations, and I don't know why. But you can always change the difficulty if you need to. Drop it from a challenge 2 down to a challenge 1, vice versa. And the last thing I want to touch on is vendors and faction quests. So these are going to unlock a decent portion into the main campaign, and they're going to serve as a great way to fill in any weak spots in your gear. There are also daily missions you can pick up from NPCs in either outpost, which will give faction rep. And when you rank up with a faction, you're given a reward, and then at certain milestones, you can actually purchase better gear. Now, these haven't been overly important for me yet, but I do feel like as I get deeper into the game, as I unlock more things, better gear will start to appear and stuff that'll actually be a little bit more useful. Will exotics ever appear? I don't think so, but I think some high-end legendaries will. Okay, so that is it for this one. I hope this video has been super helpful for you guys. I mean, the game has been incredibly fun so far. I can't put it down. I just want to keep playing and keep building up my cast of heroes. And with Hives coming out soon, which is the raid equivalent content that you can do solo or in a party, I'm going to have even more stuff to do. And I'm very curious to see what Crystal Dynamics does with this title in the long run. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So for those of you who have played it, what do you guys think so far? Is this what you expected? Not what you expected? Do you feel like it's a ripoff? Do you feel like you're getting your money's worth? I know that's a big kind of point of contention for a lot of people, and I want to hear what you guys think. So let's get talking in the comments section below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.